Why did you guys make the move that you did?
Yeah, Thaddeus, I think he's a known commodity around the NBA, and I think for us, we followed him for a while. We've made a few attempts to get him, via trades in prior years. So we felt like, this was a good situation where, we're bringing him into Toronto, and he's at a point in his career where we think he really complements the core and doesn't necessarily. He kind of complements more than tries to kind of substitute what they're doing. And I think that was, part of the philosophy for us was, maintaining and respecting what this group is doing and how can we add to it.
I'm sure you've already started looking toward the upcoming draft class, and you guys, it looks like, slipped down a little bit in the draft. How would you evaluate the difference in those picks and what this class is shaping up to be sort of in that probably middle tier of the draft?
Yeah, exactly. You hit it. That's the value play here, right? As you slide a little bit in the draft and you pick up a player that, you think can help you. Listen, I think historically it's an area not in the draft that we've operated in the past. And I think, realistically, we don't see a ton of, incremental change between those picks.
Thanks, Bobby.
Yeah.
Thanks, Aaron. Adam had his hand up next. Go for it, Adam.
Hi, Bobby. I'm just wondering if you can speak to a bit about, what your own confidence is in the core. Obviously, you didn't really move a foundational piece. Sort of, what can you say about your own confidence within the core of this team?
Yeah, I think it goes back to when we kind of decided to go down this path this summer, and the types of players, especially on the defensive end, that Coach Nurse likes to play, and I think that these guys like to play. And we started to see it a little bit, probably in the bubble run. And so it's fun to see this team to come together. I think, due to COVID and injuries, we didn't really see the full group. And to be fair to them, they didn't have a ton of time together playing. And I think for the first time, we're seeing that everyone relatively healthy, understanding, their expectations, understanding their roles and what we're trying to do on both ends. So that's probably been the most rewarding.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Josh Lewinberg.
Hey, Bobby, thanks for doing this. You mentioned the other day that you guys were in a position to potentially add some long-term salary. In the end, you went the route of flexibility. How important was that for you guys in the end with Young's contract expiring after this year, as well as some of the flexibility that you guys get under the tax and being able to do something with that 15th spot as well?
Exactly, you kind of hit on them. There were some options to take on additional money. Ultimately, a couple of those deals fell through, and then in a couple other examples, the money went out so far it felt a bit kind of risky. So we walked away from those. And then as far as the flexibility under the tax, we knew going into this year we'd be really tight, and so this does give us some flexibility in the buyout market. And also to use some of our mid-level to offer more than, maybe what another team can do.
In terms of needs and skills that you talked about yesterday, and something that gets talked about often, not just with your team, but with every team in the league, is shooting. Thad, capable shooter, but it's never been a huge part of his game. Was the market for shooting, a lot of the guys that came up in conversation didn't get moved. Was the market for shooting just really tough to get into, or is that not something that you guys had prioritized?
I think it's something that we talked about earlier this week. I think it's the combination of the shooting and ball handling. Those guys are the ones that are hard to find, not necessarily hard to find behind it, hard to get. And so I think that's probably, what you saw is a lot of teams were looking for those combos, and it was just the price kept going up.
Great. Thanks, Bobby.
Thanks, Josh. Go ahead, Doug.
Hey, Bobby, thanks for stopping by. Glad you got through the day safe and sound. What is it about Thad Young that has intrigued you for all these years? Is his basketball abilities, his personality? Why have you guys liked him for so long?
Yeah, I think he's a high-level professional, obviously being in the league this long. He's developed into a leader. I think you saw that probably even, with Chicago in the last few years. And then the defensive versatility, obviously we like that ability to switch. He's disruptive, good hands. And then on offense, I think he's a smart player. He can pass a little. He kind of knows where to be. And so in that sense, we felt from off the court in the locker room, helping some of these guys grow. but then also on the court, still being a productive player.
Is the off the court stuff, how significant is that with this group that seems to be very close, this core group, and not wanting to bring in I don't want to say disruptive personality, but maybe someone who might not fit well?
Yeah, we definitely put a priority on that, and I think that's probably what you're alluding to and what you're seeing with Thaddeus. To be able to come in and fit into the locker room, but also be a leader, as opposed to bringing a completely new personality or energy.
Great, thanks very much, Bobby. Take care.
Yeah.
Thanks, Doug. Go ahead, Michael Grange, who seems to be in the media room at Scotiabank.
All by myself. Hey, Bobby, was there a player or a type of player you were targeting that you kind of thought you might have been able to get and it kind of slipped out of your grasp, kind of thing?
Everyone always says it, but you don't know what really slips out of your grasp because you don't know what was there. Are you talking about dozens of players? Yes. And other deals happen. But Thaddeus was pretty high on our list from the start. And I think that was obviously what drew us to him at the end of the day. Was, we always liked him, and it's been someone we tried to get for a few years.
And then going forward into next summer, you've got a very clean set of books relatively. What how does this move set you up for then?
Yes, obviously trading for Thad, you get his bird rights, which gives us a lot of options this summer. Obviously we have a couple free agents that we'd like to re-sign, and then we have our mid-level. So I think between those three, we feel like we have some, ability to spend, either keeping our own players or going out and get some other ones.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Go ahead, Stephen.
Hey, Bobby, it's good to see you.
What's up, Steve?
I saw I think everyone saw the report about Drew Eubanks being waived. Can you confirm that for us?
Yeah, I think just he was in there for salary cap, and then positionally and with the buyout market, I think it just makes sense for both of us to get going, sooner rather than later.
Okay, and like I think when you started the press conference, you mentioned how like there's a little bit of stress at 250. Like what was that stress for you?
Oh, it's time's counting down. You got new deals coming out of nowhere. All the rumors are flying. You start to see what deals. Some teams get players that don't want them, so you want to see if you can pick them up at the last minute. It's just the trade deadline frenzy.
Thanks a lot, Bobby.
Yeah.
Thanks. Go ahead, Oren.
Hey, Bobby, thanks for doing this. How much of this trade was about making a run for the playoffs and getting the young guys on your team that haven't been there, or guys with little experience there, reps in a playoff situation? How much do you think Thaddeus can help you get there, and how important was that for this trade?
Yeah, I think it's both. However many things you mentioned, is he can help us on the court. I think he can help those guys prepare and learn. Those guys will get reps as well, and I think just adds to our depth as far as types of players that we like.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Eric.
Hey, Bobby. I know it's early, but with the extra spot, do you have any idea of how you'd want to skew in terms of like buyout market versus guys that have been in the G League? What you're thinking positionally, or is it all far too early to think about that?
It's probably too early to identify what this specific is. It seems a bit early because I think we probably have like 3 weeks here before the March 1 date. So, it's the typical game, right? Like you said, do you want to go get a prospect? You want to look at some in the G League? Do you commit early to a vet, not knowing what vets might eventually pop up on February 28th? So yeah, it's probably earlier rather than later in the process. So we're putting that list together, talking to agents and seeing, what might be out there.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you. And I think we've got just one more thing from Michael Grange.
Hey, Bobby. So this sort of does bring to an end the whole Kyle Lowry trade adventure, I guess. And how do you assess it? If you look back to where you were this time last year, if not this actual time last year, and the decisions made, and then over the summer, and now it's all tied up. So how would you assess it?
Very philosophical, Mike.
It's my job.
Yeah. I think, this probably dates back to even, the second half of the year in Tampa, and as we started to evaluate the team and what we thought was best for the future of the franchise. And so, you want to be obviously respectful to Kyle through that process. You want to set up the team for the future. You want to start to have a vision for what the team looks like. And so you're starting to get players that kind of fit with your young group. You also have to be a bit, business oriented and figure out what contracts. And obviously this contract, ended up helping us a little here. So, it's not all warm and fuzzy. I think you gotta, navigate a lot of those. And I think obviously Precious has shown a lot of, talent. He's continued to improve this year. Obviously having the Goron expiring allowed us to be in a lot of conversations this year. And now we have Thaddeus Young. And so I think, these things, they're nice stopping points, I think, to evaluate, but I'm not sure, it's ever kind of like the beginning or the end of those discussions. And so, we'll continue to see with this team and, with this direction.